Thank you very much for agreeing for this interview.
Thank you for having me.
And first, I would like to ask if you have, altogether, you have spent more than 11 years in prison just for a peaceful protest, for kind of um, warning to the ladies who wanted to have their children killed. Aren't you bitter?
An offering of help.
And offering of help, yes. Aren't you bitter that after that, it hasn't changed? That as we look around the pro-life movement, let's say, looking from the low point of view, is still on the losing side. We have euthanasia now, and we still have this abortion law, which there is where there is no law, and you can have
absence of law.
Absence of law. You can have your your child killed, even if it's 7 months, if you are 7 months pregnant or so, because the law defines a human being as somebody who is born alive. Aren't you bitter?
Well, when the law was struck down, the Supreme Court advised Parliament that now it was to go back to them and they were to make up a law.
Yeah.
So the directive from the Supreme Court was that there should be some kind of a law. And yes, I'm disappointed that we've had a few attempts in Parliament where bills have been brought forward to discuss when a human life becomes a life. Because the law that they are using on the books is a 400-year-old law. And with our state of the art in fetology, we're very aware of who is in the womb and what their abilities are, the development. And so there needs to be a reopening of the conversation. And Parliament needs to look at it again, and they haven't. And the fact that they refuse to do it is, to me, very hypocritical when they know the evidence is there to say they should, that they have a duty, a responsibility to reconsider the lives of the unborn.
What about the rest of us? Aren't we too passive?
We are acting like the privileged born. And the minute we allow a group of our society to have less rights and be seen as separate or treated differently, then we are putting ourselves in a privileged position. And I really think we have to take that line of differentiation between birth and being unborn and recognize the continuity that our lives once began here, that was part of our life. And to deny the unborn that part of their lives is murder. It is taking the life of an innocent person that deserves their place in our society, in our time.
So we are witnessing murder around us, and we do nothing, most of us. Is that so?
Well, there used to be an ad, a social service ad that says, "Your silence is killing me." And I think that applies to the unborn too, that to not speak for them is to allow it to continue. There is an element of being complicit with it. And for us to be comfortable with the status quo, I think this is painful for me. How can you be comfortable with so many lives lost?
Tell me about your case, because I know that I think a couple of months ago the charges were dropped against you in different cases. Then
withdrawn.
You were withdrawn, yes. Then you in the last case you were sentenced. You were sentenced to 6 months in prison. Why this case was different than the previous one?
Well, the 2 times before, a higher court judge, Judge Trotter, had said her carrying a sign and being peaceful on the road is not intimidating. It's not, you are charging her with part of the injunction, one of the points on the injunction says intimidation. And he said, no, the sign she's carrying says, "Why, Mom, when I have so much love to give you?" She's peacefully walking back. He said, that's not intimidation. So him making that precedent is telling the court, don't use that next time on her. So the next time when they realized that Judge Trotter's decision was over their head, then they withdrew the charge. The third time, then they're very uncomfortable because it's looking like 3 times that their injunction is no longer having authority. And then also Christy Blatchford, the journalist from the National Post, was at my arrest. And I think that further embarrassed them because it exposed. But again, for them to have an identical, almost an identical situation to the previous 2 times, and then all of a sudden it shows that it's very arbitrary. But my whole thinking is that this injunction is being misused from the beginning. An injunction is when you have huge numbers of people, like a car company strike, or you've got people chaining themselves to trees while heavy equipment's moving around, or you have world leaders coming over to a convention center, and then you have
because you're talking about the Morgenthaler Clinic in Toronto, the injunction.
Yeah, but there was a big world conference, and the leaders came. They put a 15-foot injunction around the conference center. But when the leaders went back to their country, the injunction is dropped. This injunction is called temporary. It's been there for since 1994. So it is just a political tool being used to get pro-lifers off the street. And my lawyer has consistently got them to admit that my behavior is always peaceful. And then in the conclusion of this trial, the Crown attorney said, let's step back and look at the big picture on this. It's about security. But that's a red herring. Peaceful people do not breach security. So for him to say, well, we're just saying it's security. Some president once said, anyone that would give up freedom in order to get security deserves neither. And that's true. When we're willing to let the government do as it please, and we're not questioning that, what is this really about? And if it's about freedom of speech, freedom of assembly,
because you're in the public space, you don't enter the clinic.
That is your constitutional right to be on a public sidewalk. And Judge Trotter also brought that up. He said, this is a freedom of speech issue. That it is not, the injunction is carte blanche, that they are overextending it. They're actually abusing it to make it that all pro-lifers are swept off the street.
Is there what kind of counseling does a pregnant woman have who wants to have abortion? Is there any kind of counseling?
There was a case we were involved with where an abortionist was put on the stand, and she basically said, these young women, they can go on the computer, they can check on the internet, it's not for me. And she admitted that she gave them no form of fetal information or development of the child. She said, they come to me for one thing, and I give them what they ask for. Then she was asked, how young are some of your patients that you were aborting that day. And she said one of our patients was as young as 12. Now, a 12-year-old may be able to go on the computer and look up some school assignment, but for them to be doing, and this is surgery,
Right.
abortion is not some simple procedure. There's risks, lifelong things that can happen to them that they need to know. The same way a doctor would tell you there's a certain risk factor for any other surgery. And you would meet with the doctor previously, and with the abortion, that young patient is not meeting the doctor or even seeing him until she's undressed in the gown with her feet up in the stirrups, and he walks in the room to do the abortion. That's the first time she's meeting him. And this is no type of, abortion is, let's face it, abortion is no type of medical practice. And an abortion clinic does not get money for live babies. They only get money for dead babies.
Yeah. So they are like a business.
It's an industry. And even in court, the Crown has referred to clients going in for an abortion as customers. They've used that talk in the courtroom.
So why do you think the political system, the health system, allows to such awful thing that the young women go to have a surgery without an explanation of what it is, and is it the political thing or is it just ignorance?
I think the health system is beginning to use like situational ethics, and we're seeing that now moving into this assisted dying.
Yeah.
Once a medical operation is done, there's ethics and morals, there's boards, there's rules and regulations. And when they will take something that is, imagine they go to one end of a hospital and work to save a preemie baby that's maybe born at 6 months, and that has all kinds of health problems, and they go beyond to do things, to intervene to save the life of that child, and then run down the other end of the hospital and take a perfectly healthy baby and dissect it and throw it in the garbage. Now, there's something morally.
Don't you think it's inhuman? It's contrary to the
well,
human nature.
It bankrupts your thinking. That life, you can't do that and not lose your sense of respect for the sanctity of life, because there used to be the Hippocratic Oath, where a doctor said to do no harm.
Yeah.
I heard a talk show commentator the other day bring up this expression, to do no harm, and they were talking about something else, but like it applies to the unborn. And if not, if to do no harm only is for born people, then why do they do all this special emergency high-risk preemie care? You can see the duplicity that all of a sudden in this situation the health of the child becomes irrelevant.
Mm-hmm.
And medicine should never ever have the life of any born or unborn child become irrelevant.
Yeah, it's treating people, human beings, like a product or a thing, or you have received letters of support from Poland.
I have. Wonderfully so.
What would you tell Polish people whose country is still predominantly Catholic, but there are many pressures to so-called modernize, meaning to let things like abortion, euthanasia come into the health system and so on? What will you tell Poles?
Well, I think the justice they fight for, it is a fight. Justice isn't something that's given. It is something that is pulled forth. That it's work. It's a labor, and when we decide as a people to give up the battle, that nothing can be done, that nothing's going to change, we become part of the problem. The Polish people see the encroachment, they see the danger coming, and they're proactive. Even the assisted suicide. This battle isn't for 2015. This battle is for the last decade. That the time to fight is when you see it. The propaganda, the media, the movie implications.
Special interests.
They're all euphemisms trying to dress it up and make it look compassionate and kind and caring. And the Polish people see the writing on the wall, and they're willing to step out and say, our lives need to be interrupted, and we need to make the sacrifices necessary. And the cost is too great if we don't. So for that, I am so grateful that they see it and are willing to act and do something.
So, well, thank you very much for your kind words, and well, all the best, and all our thanks to you what you have done for so many years, with a great cost to your health, to your life. God bless, and thank you very much.
Yes. Well, may God keep Poland and its children free, born and unborn.
Thank you.